Hey! Alright, I think we're live. I hope we're live. If we're live, let me know. Because I'm on a new program and I need to know. Hey! Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Nice Live. I'm your host, Ricky Reed. Broadcasting inspiration, screaming into the void. No rules, all heart. And my heart is beaten bloody red today. Big feels today. Big feels today. Before we get into all the things I'm feeling today, I want to let you guys know that I have a new streaming program. I'm so happy it's actually working. This is the one I tried to get together last week to no avail. Check this out. Want to see something tight? Ready? Wait. Yeah, boy. I hope that worked. If that was sick, let me know if it looked sick, because I'm very much hoping that it looked sick. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. Things have been developing. As the show's been going on, I've been learning a lot about how to make it, and I've been learning a lot about myself. I think we kind of all have been during this pandemic. I have some exciting news that I'm going to share with you guys on Monday's show. Not quite yet, but more is coming. There's exciting things in the works. I had a tough day. I had a really tough day. This morning was one of those, like, let me reach out to my friend in Canada kind of days. If you catch my drift, I think I started today at a good 3.5. Good 3.5. I think middle of the day, maybe got it up to a good 6 solid. I think now maybe 6.5. As always, let me know in the chat how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. Include the decimal point, please. If you're really high or you're really low, let me know why. I want to know. I want to know how you're doing. This is a good place where we sort of, as a family, as a little community here, I think it's like, even if you're not directly consoling people that are in the chat with you, it's just good to see that other people are having a tough time, because it's easy to be on your social media or whatever it is and like continue to see only, people's curated best versions of themselves. And why wouldn't they want to share that? That's fine. That makes sense. I do it. We all do it. But it's just nice to remember that, like, everybody's having a tough time. And again, like I always say, if you live with anyone and you're having a really hard day, tell them you're having a hard day and don't let it just boil and everyone gets snappy with each other. Please. Okay. What do we got? Boy Blue, 8. Wow. Vazen, 6.7. Czar is a 8.8 tonight. Evan is a 7.003. Wow, that's very specific. Sarah, 7.1. Tyler, I remember you, Tyler, high. 7.2. Cowboy, 7.6. That's solid. I like that. Default Tone says I'm an 8 for the week because Trader Joe's was well stocked. Nice. Lana Mac, 10. Nice. Wherever you live on a tropical island unaffected by this. Joe London, what's up, bro? Hey, might have to jump in the chat. Joe London in the mix tonight, bro. We gotta have you on the show. Claire Rudolph, 7.6, sipping miso soup. 7.6 is kind of a miso soup number, I think. That's good. Larry Wade's back. He's got the gear. He's stoked. He's feeling good. And we got a 2.2. Arigenia, tell us why you're a 2.2 today. We want to know. So today's going to be really interesting. I don't know what I'm going to work on yet. I was so flustered and emotional and this and that today. And a few songs are like in between weird places, so I don't really have a plan tonight. I'm going to have you guys sort of help me, point me in some direction. But all that being said, I do want to do, I'm going to do questions. I'm going to do 2 questions tonight. And then we're going to go to our special guest. So get your questions ready for him. It's Daddy Kev from Alpha Pup. But right now, give me your questions. I'm taking 2. I'm going to be quick with them. Real quick. Just tell me what you got. Okay. All right, I'm seeing some rolling in. Okay. So, great one to start. Best EQ for top end and low end, asks Evan H. You want to see what EQ I use for top end and low end? I can show you now. I got the thing set up. I'm actually set up, boy. You want to see? Look at this. Look at this. You see this EQ? This is my favorite. You know how I do it? I turn up the low end. I turn up the top end. This is the EQ that I use 99.9% of EQing that I use is with that. I use like a Waves SSL channel. I use the UA SSL. Some of these have great sort of presets and things for vocals and whatnot. I do like the Millennia NS EQ from UA. That's a nice like master bus EQ if you're going to do that. But that's going to be a good question for Kev, so please keep that one in mind. Back over here. Yeah, we got EQ view now. Hashtag EQ view. That's very hard to say. Let's see. And we got some... Oh, wow. We have a lot of good questions. The question that's kind of coming here that's hardest to answer, but it's probably the most important question I'm seeing is hey, this is Default Tone. Hey Ricky, you said that you learned that rhythm without melody and chords, just rhythm, can be emotional. How can we practice doing that? We had someone else say basically repeat the same question. It is I think the best way to start to understand that is through listening, um, and specifically through video, because it's the kind of thing. I mean, especially during quarantine, you can't like link up with people and like watch them play and this and that. But I was taught that from my drum master when I was in college, a guy named CK Ledzekbo, who was a Ghanaian drum master. He's amazing. Big influence on me and my music and my career and life and everything. He probably does not know I exist at this point, but he was big for me. Um, and I think that, there's a lot of ways to go about it. I was taking these courses from him at the same time that I was just starting to wrap my head around the sort of like Soulquarians, D'Angelo, Glory, like golden era of I think that was like late 90s or early 2000s. I think just start with just just Google some sort of D'Angelo Voodoo live, like early aughts. Um, there's like a Chris Rock show performance. There's maybe like a Montreux jazz performance. Just watch those and listen to the rhythm section. And I know that they are playing melody and they are playing chords, but just watch and listen and watch. And that is a great place to start. And we can check in. We can check in next week. Okay, I would like to bring out my guest. He is an LA legend, and I do not throw the word legend around. I first sort of came across him and his work as related to being the person who got Low End Theory, who started Low End Theory in LA, talent buyer, DJ, and then sort of came across my radar again as a mastering engineer, was super instrumental early on in the careers of guys like Flying Lotus and Thundercat, and also has a distribution company called Alpha Pup, which actually distributes Nice Life. So we finally found an excuse to be in business together, and I'm so stoked. If he's still there, I'm going to bring him in. Start getting your questions ready because he's got more knowledge than all of us put together. Can I bring him in? Let's see if this works. Kev, are you there? Are you there?
I'm here. How are you doing? Can you see me okay?
Looking crisp.
Sweet.
Yeah, how you
Sweet.
doing, dude?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it very much. Honored to be here.
It's an honor to have you, and like I said, just an honor that we finally figured out a way to work together. It's great. It's so great.
It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure so far. So yeah,
It
thank you.
it totally has. I mean, there's nothing better than going to you for the great master, you know, like mastering engineer job, and then you knowing exactly how it's ingesting into DSPs and everything. Like I can't think of a better, more streamlined approach with someone who's also like, we've said you're a music guy, right? First and foremost. Um, Tell me about how, and we're going to get to some mastering questions. So if you guys are like, if there's any producers, engineers, people, definitely start gathering up your questions here. But we're going to start on the distribution side. So, Alpha Pup distributor, is it also a label? Tell me sort of about the layout of it and what it's like being such a music head in the sort of distro world.
It's different. I mean, we were born an indie label. We got into distribution pretty early on in our history as a business. Um, that said, I mean, I think one thing that informs our approach to distribution is really going after super high quality music. That entails working with brilliant artists.
Mm-hmm.
So just the idea of having a super high art quality, approach to distribution, which is counter to how most independent distributors and will approach it.
Right, more of like a sort of gobble up catalogs, what have you. You guys really are, you curate your catalog real seriously.
We curate our curators. I mean, I think that's the way of looking at it,
Damn.
right? It's like we're trying to find people who have extraordinary tastes, who have monolithic vision.
Right.
That's what that's how I, on our best day, that's what we're building.
Right. I love that. I love that. So for people who don't know how distribution works, like, why they would, because obviously for most folks it's kind of like, all right, if I can just get my stuff onto Spotify or whatever it is, why does distribution matter? What's your 45-second distribution pitch, talk, whatever?
It depends. I mean, distribution is not one size fits all. I can tell you that, right? I think it depends what your goals are with your music, how you're trying to reach people. If
Right.
that is simply Spotify and Apple, I think your best solution is probably going to DistroKid or TuneCore. I think that'll give you the path of least resistance and the highest return on your sound recording value.
Right.
That said, only if it were that simple, right?
Yeah.
It depends, what your expectations are. It depends how global are you thinking around your audience. Because if you're thinking beyond North America or Europe, that's going to entail a whole another set of players, especially as you enter continents such as Asia and Africa.
Right.
There's also there's a lot to be done with metadata. I'm a big believer that if you approach your metadata in the correct fashion, you can add value, to
Metadata
the song.
being all the information that comes with a song besides the audio, right? Credits, lyrics, etc.
Everything. I mean,
Right.
credits, lyrics, the artwork, depending how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that metadata is correct, if it is rich, if it involves way beyond just the producer, but you're crediting the actual players, if that's in the metadata, that can add a significant value, short term and long term.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I know that you really are in the business of trying to think holistically about how recordings are made. And also, I think of you really as a community builder, a community leader. So it only makes sense that in your approach to distribution, right, that you would make sure that everybody gets that credit. And what it does just builds connective tissue between this artist and that artist, this project and that project. And you might get some pickup because someone that's on your record is on someone else's record or what have you. Like, you're trying to reach the people who care. It sounds like is your sort of MO, yeah.
I mean, for sure. I mean, metadata can be one vehicle towards that. I think that if you're working in the business as an engineer, or you're working as an art director, or you're working as a photographer, odds are that you are rarely credited. Yet, it's these credits that really lead you from project to project. And it's your resume, effectively. And the fact that, as we transition from physical media to digital media, these are a lot of the credits that just got lost along the way. I think it's fractured quite a bit of just that supply chain of work for people. And I think that the next paradigms of music listening and really people who want to dig further, I think there's a lot of exciting things happening right now, in the business around metadata and creator credits and putting it all together. And for me, it's a really exciting time to be in the business. I mean, pandemic conditions aside, there's a lot of innovation happening right now with distribution. So it's exciting.
Totally agree. All right, let's talk mastering for a little bit because I actually have many questions about mastering. And you don't have to give away all your secrets.
I'll give away anything you want to know. I'm
Oh,
open
let's
book
go,
on
bro.
mastering. So let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So you've mastered a couple of mine recently. In fact, just one today, which I can't talk about, but we will talk about it. But tell me, like, I guess I have two main questions. One, and this is actually for anybody who's watching. I'm like literally getting my real info here that I need to know. What's the best way you think to have mixes delivered to a mastering engineer? Like, what's your ideal scenario? Sort of loud, bright, not bright. You know, what should we be thinking about when we're sending you stuff to master?
I think it's case dependent. I think it will vary. My answer to that question will vary depending if it's a single or an album.
Mm,
I think if it's an album, I would want that as dynamic as possible, just so I can kind of sculpt the loudness sheen across the board. It also depends where how the record was recorded. What
mm-hmm.
is the intent, right? Is the intent high fidelity? Because that will inform my mastering approach. If the intent
Right.
is mid or low fidelity, which sometimes is the case, I will really tread lightly. And at that
Mm,
point, I would prefer that the mixes are delivered as close as possible to what the artist is imagining the master to be like.
right.
And at that point, I'm just kind of like a catch-all. I'm just kind of debugging the code, if
Right.
you
Right.
will, and just making sure that we're staying within certain loudness limits, to not completely ruin the reproduction.
Right.
I think something to always be really concerned about is what's going to happen when your wave becomes an MP3 or an
Ah.
Orbis stream or all these other things that happen
Right.
once your record makes it to streaming services, and just having some foresight around that. I mean, that's some really good best practices I'll recommend
Mm-hmm.
is to really be cognizant of your output, on your limiter. I'm usually around negative 0.3. That's kind of like
Mm.
my happy place.
Okay.
Um, that the reason for that is that eliminate, or not entirely, but it can largely eliminate the um, phenomenon of intersample peaks. That's what happens when you get an amplitude of a sound that's going
Okay.
so loud, you're getting really close to that ceiling of 0 decibels full scale,
Yeah.
and basically it's so loud that the amplitude of the sample um, will overshoot your converters. Depending the true term for it would be an intersample peak.
What
Some
happens
people,
when you over? We're getting into it now. What happens when you overshoot your converters? That sounds wild.
if you're on some really nice converters, it might sound good. If you're, however, on lower quality or consumer level converters, it will sound like distortion. Um, and that's
Ah.
and that's
Wait.
something
Is,
that
is overshoot your converters? Does that just mean distort? Is that
well, distortion happens. I think of this.
right?
I always think along the law of the Nyquist theorem that, look, anytime you're adding so much as zero point 0.1 decibels of gain to any
Right.
signal, you are adding distortion.
Right.
This is just the law, right? I mean, these are some of the ideas that guide my philosophies around being really subtractive, trying to be subtractive with the EQ approach versus additive,
Right.
especially if you're gonna go digital.
Hmm.
But I think that, again, it's, you just want to be cognizant of those output levels. You do not, because if you're too toasty, again, the music will feel the pain, when it's coming out of 160 kbps stream somewhere or less.
Right. Damn. Damn. You're dropping some serious knowledge on us tonight. I gotta just hold on to that. What'd you say earlier? Curate your curators. I can't forget that. Somebody in the chat, please help me never forget those words. Um, okay, one more for you, and then we'll take some questions from the folks. So start putting your questions in, people. Uh, Kev, somebody says, I knew I needed, this is Evan in the chat, says, I knew I needed an overshoot my converters pedal. And I'm already seeing some good questions coming in. But my other one for you is, when you master, How many? I know it's probably case by case, but what's the average amount of pieces of gear you run it through? You don't even have to say what brand or model, but just like, is it like EQ, then compression, then limiter, or vice versa, or something I'm not thinking of? I just want to know what the sort of chain is in concept.
Sure. Concept. First part of the chain is always gain. I'm usually almost always gaining down. Just to kind of like start things off, I need to kind of like have a bit of headroom for me to operate. That
Right.
gain starts around -6. That's kind of like my default start. Usually from there, I will proceed with 2 EQ passes. First EQ pass is I usually use the Brainworks
Oh
plugin.
yeah.
And I'll do a few things there. It's usually just kind of like against some error correction stuff. I'm just notching down some really thin Q notches. And then usually EQ2 is going to be Fab Filter. I'm going to have that in natural mode. And I'm going to usually approach that pretty lightly. This is if I'm going to do a high pass. Sometimes I will do that. That's where I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a real steep curve, probably like -30 decibels per octave, something like that, super steep. Just
Like
again, kind of notch out the
10 hertz,
any
20 hertz
muddiness.
kind of thing.
Say that again.
Like 10 hertz or something, like super low.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sculpt because I have a sub in my room. Sometimes I'll sculpt between 14 to 20 hertz. I can kind of discern that low in my room. And sometimes there's just stuff down there. There's a weird phenomenon that can happen, which is going to sound very counterintuitive. But sometimes if you're scooping at the right areas down there, like around 16, 18 hertz,
Okay.
you will actually get better sub bass. You will get more sub in an actual club than not.
I believe that. Right, because the energy down there is probably taking away from the actual energy at 40, 50, 60 hertz, right?
Exactly. I mean, and think about how those always add up, right? Like part of my approach to EQ is I try to always get the overtone and undertone around a mastering EQ setting. So let's say, for instance, I'm on the Brainworks and I'm finding a resonant issue at like 4.5K.
Yeah.
That means guaranteed I'm going to go up an octave to 9K.
Yep.
I'm going to go down an octave to 2.25K and kind of do these like trios. That seems to really work. That seems to, if the issue I'm trying to address is resonant related, that because every sound has like an undertone and an overtone, basically.
Harmonic series, bro. It's very real.
Yeah.
It's the real thing. I've also found that like most of the EQing I do is also subtractive, just removing bad sounds. My ear is really sensitive to harsh frequencies anywhere from usually like from about 2.5 up through 8. I can usually hear, they just scream out to me. But what I'll do is I'll do a really sharp cue and I'll crank it and kind of move around and listen to where it's squealing. But the trick that I do, this is sort of for the layman's out there like myself, is if it's squealing but it's in key with the music, it's probably not something I need to remove. But if it's squealing and it's a frequency that is musically not in key, it's probably a bad resonant ringing thing, and then I'll pull it out. It's a little tip. And now that so Kev, I didn't have my screen share functional until this episode, so I'm going to get to finally show people how I actually use plugins, which will be cool.
Sweet.
Okay, so tell me, so after the EQs, so you brought the volume down, 2 EQs.
Yeah, I'm doing my moves in those EQs, and then usually, I mean, it depends. Okay, if I'm doing an analog treatment, sometimes I won't use those plugins at all. It'll just be straight analog, and if I'm going to go analog, it's usually I switch it up sometimes, but it's usually a Vitas E27 EQs into hardware Fatso into SSL G3 for stereo bus compressor, like the OG, the gray face, which just gives such an incredible sheen. I barely hit that thing. You barely the gain reduction is barely working. I primarily use it for tone,
Mm.
but what a tone it has! It's probably the most perfect, in one all in one magic box that I've owned and
Wow.
worked with. But I love that thing. So, but I'll mix that up.
Awesome.
Sometimes, like recently, I done an ambient record, and these dudes definitely wanted tubes. So I was like, all
Mm.
right, no problem. I'll fire up the Manly. We're gonna heat this thing up. And it sounded great. I used the API 550As, which I usually don't use those in mastering, but I used that on that project. It sounded
Wow.
great. It's just kind of sometimes what the doctor ordered. I try to interpret
Right.
what the client is looking for. Because I have a lot on the menu,
Yeah.
um, and it's like, it just depends how you guys want to go. I mean, but for me, usually I'm trying to be pretty. My approach is sometimes a non-approach. If
Mm.
like at the mix, um, like for instance, if I'm dealing with like a Manny Marroquin mix, okay,
Right.
guess what? Like I got an easy day that day, okay, because I was talking to my buddy Hive recently. He does like Diplo and Skrillex, and like we came
Mm.
up
Yeah.
together. Really, really talented engineer, one of my mentors, and he told me straight up, he's like, dude, a real good at mastering engineer knows when to do nothing. Knows
Mm.
knows when you're just good. You just get out of the way, make sure
Right.
that the file's named correctly, and just go home. You're good.
Damn.
And,
Damn.
and I'm rarely in that situation, I will say.
Right.
But I think it's about knowing just what sounds right, and just being really objective about it. I think what I'm consistently doing is trying to put myself in other people's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thinking around like how they're going to interpret sound, how they're going to
Right.
interpret a song, the environment they're going to be in, clock radio, car,
Yep.
phone. I think the goal of mastering is just really good translation, um,
Yeah.
and just kind of being like I try not to overhear things. I do have a pretty good trained ear, but I think
Mm-hmm.
in one of my things I've developed over time is being able to kind of zoom out of my usual tendencies of trying to analyze frequencies and trying to have like this real like surgical ear versus
Mm-hmm.
just like a very like plain objective listening ear.
Right.
And trying to think around like people who aren't musically trained, how are they going to
Yeah.
interpret this?
Right.
um, that's actually informed my EQ approach recently. These days I usually do nowadays like a very thin Q cut somewhere between 400 600 hertz. And the reason why, and sometimes there's nothing there, there's not a whole lot to latch sometimes
Okay.
in that area,
Okay.
but the reason I do an EQ there, and sometimes I'll look for the emptiest space, which might sound counterintuitive for EQing, because usually you're trying to EQ a sound,
Right.
unless you're trying to EQ the room, or in this case, trying to EQ space into the mix, which part of the theory is that if I do a really thin Q move down there, especially if I do a dynamic on top of it, I like EQ to kind of duck when there's more there,
Yeah.
um, that it kind of makes it easier for a listener to articulate between bass and treble. Just that kind of simple thing for a listener to
Wow.
be like, I like the bass on that song, I like the treble on that song. And I think that there's just
Wow.
like little things that you can do for mastering to kind of make that articulation easier by simply removing information that is arguably useless. That's how you look
Right.
at it.
Right. Hey, I tell people this all the time when if I'm playing a song for my dad in the car or something and has a big powerful vocal and we listen to it and we get all the way through it and let's say it had like a say it's like a ballad like an Adele song or something. Orchestra, drums, piano, guitar, bass, voice. We get through it and I'm like, Dad, what'd you think about the production or what'd you think about he'll and I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I thought it was just vocals. Or, oh, I heard vocals and I heard piano, but has, you know, does not have the, um, I don't even want to say skills by any means, just like doesn't have the interest in sort of exploring the sonic space of it. But what I really love about what you're saying with that approach is like giving people, even people who are not audiophiles or don't care about the inner workings of things, the opportunity to maybe pick out, to have certain instruments sort of like jump out to them and to engage maybe a little bit in deeper of a way than they would otherwise. You know, those little things make a big difference.
I mean, and I think that perhaps your dad's response to your question is really a reflection of how the auditory system works. You know, we're naturally, we can't hear everything at once. You know, the human brain will decode what's put in front of it in an auditory way and amplify certain aspects depending like what you're listening to. For instance, if you're listening to a song like a mix, and you really start focusing on the kick drum,
right?
Guess what? That kick drum is going to now kind of appear louder because you're really fixating on it, because we can only interpret so much at once. Again, part of my training that I've tried to do over the years is like learning how to zoom out. You know, how to behold as many frequencies at once, without being led too much towards the vocal or to the bass line or to whatever thing might be attracting me, to just kind of, again, stand away from it from an observational point of view. It's not easy. But I think that when it comes to being a mastering engineer, and I joke with my wife when I say this sometimes, I'm a professional listener. And I think that, you know, it's like, this is kind of about, you know, again, trying to be able to perceive evenly, being aware of your limitations as a human, that every pass is going to sound different, period, and just not tricking yourself out. And that's usually where I try to be on it. Again, too, when I'm mastering records, I try not to overdo it. I try not to listen to the song too many times before I'm hitting it. Fresh ears, you know, objectivity. Every time you listen to it, your confirmation bias is just messing you up. You know, I feel like, especially mixing, right? That's like a race against time. I feel like usually you hit a point pretty early in a mix where it's the best it's going to sound.
Yes.
And then every iteration after that, it's just getting worse, right? So it's like, and when you can just walk away from it and be like, all right, I don't want to do any more damage to this. There's of course exceptions. If you're doing like fine stitching, like around effects, and that's different. But insofar as just like your basic volume leveling, the reality is if you're spending like just a lot of time voluming, that tells me like you're probably overthinking it.
I've said this on the show before. If you're doing that, I mean, you know, if you're both the producer and the mixer, you can solve this problem. If you're just the mixer, maybe it's, you know, borders on inappropriate. But if you are also the producer and you're mixing your thing and you're mixing it and mixing it and mixing it for days and weeks on end, it's likely that you have an arrangement problem or a song problem or something that can't be solved.
I mean, I'm glad
can't be solved in the mix.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, when the word clarity, to me, you can't engineer clarity. Clarity is an arrangement issue, right? And if that's what you're after, you know, address your arrangements. And I think there's limitations to engineering as well, right? And what you can do, and I think it's being a good engineer is being aware of those boundaries. You know, my favorite thing to say to people sometimes is you don't need a mastering engineer, you need a priest. And, you know, it's just, you know, sometimes that's just how it is, you know?
That's awesome. Okay. Well, on that note, I want to take two questions. Let's see. Oh, wow. We're going to get right into the juicy stuff. Jeremy Jackson asks, do you ever have to mix songs that you just can't stand? Kev, what's your answer to that?
Rarely. I mean, rarely.
Do you just say no if you're not into them?
Well, I'm largely not for hire, really. I'm not on the block.
Right.
I mean, you know, so that's part of it. But you know what? I'll say this. I mean, if there's a situation where if I have a bias about not liking the song, I'm going to say straight up, that's my problem. Okay. You know, it's if I'm doing my job as an engineer, I need to like bag that up and not bring it into the workplace. I think that, you know, there's plenty of songs I mix that I don't understand. But I wouldn't necessarily say I don't like them.
Right.
Again, I'm here to provide a function, and to
Right.
do it at a really high level. So I think that, you know, it's, but granted, I mean, hey, you know, if I want to be, how shall I say, a connoisseur about it, and inflect my personal taste of what's great art or not, in a mix situation, again, I'm way out of pocket at that point. I think my objectivity is out the window. You know, I believe that there's an objective truth when it comes to great audio. I think that in the studio, it's about interpreting what that objective truth is. You
Right.
know, somewhere between the artist and the producer's opinions, it might be there. Sometimes a song might have an opinion of its own. I'm trying to be in touch. I'm trying to be in touch with what that is, and to translate on the song's behalf. I believe that's really kind of like the duty that I feel in an engineering way. And
Man.
you know, and that said, it's like, hey, you know, if there's something I'm hearing that I don't like, again, it's my issue. I think there should be that really that artist behind it had an intent. Hopefully, it was somewhere rooted in beauty, and if I can't discern it, that's my limitation.
Right.
And I'm always just kind of cognizant of that. You know, I think that I just would never. I try not to level that layer of disrespect to the artist, to the artisan. Someone put work into it.
Right. Wow. I got to say, and what you said earlier about the song sometimes has an opinion of its own. I say that all the time when I'm working with a band or an artist. Say, what does the song want? What does the song want? Because if you listen and just listen, it'll tell you. We're gonna do one more question from you. Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of questions about gear. Oh, Godfather's in the mix. What's up, bro? He's a good mastering engineer himself. So I'm seeing a lot of gear questions. So let's do. Gosh, these are all so good. I feel like. Okay, this is a good one. This is kind of a bit where we were at, but a gear question because these keep coming up. Any advice to people? This is Evan H. Any advice to people who want to get into mastering with a limited amount of gear? Are you mostly plugins or mostly hardware based?
I will answer that to say I'm digital based because my playback and record mechanism is digital.
Right.
I mean, it's truly, I think by definition it's hybrid, but you know, I don't see, I mean, I think for most folks, you know, for me, using analog gear is part of my workflow. I can work super fast on it. Sometimes faster on analog than I can with a mouse or a laptop.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. I'm of a different generation, you know, in that way as an engineer. I think that if I'm a young engineer right now and I'm kind of just starting out, I'd probably just double down on digital, and just try to put myself in a situation where I'm going to encounter a great many different situations, all kinds of different genres. Because for me, I started mastering out of necessity. I had a label. You know, we couldn't afford to go to Capitol, you know, for every record. We just needed these records done. And I'd gone to Capitol a few times. I'd watched this guy named Everin Goknar, and I just pixel peeped him mega, just like every move he was doing. I was like all up in his grill. But I learned so much from him, you know, and then I just tried it, you know, but I think you just got to be fearless, right? I think like a big part of about mastering is you just got to finish. And Lord knows, I made so many errors in my earliest records. You know, I don't want to say I didn't know what I was doing, but I really didn't know what I was doing. But it just took doing it over and over again, you know, maintaining the beginner's mindset, right?
Right.
Like not feeling like you got it figured out. I talk to some engineers sometimes, and it's like these guys are like, "Oh yeah, man, I got my formula. I just stick with it." And I was like, "Oh my god, how boring that must be to be in
Yeah,
the
man.
studio every day." Like, you know, if you just got your
Completely.
formula, I mean, golly, man, I mean that's just so not interesting.
Right.
And I think that, you know, mastering is like a trendy thing, right? Like it trends loudness levels, it trends like you know, sheens around the low end, the high
Right.
end. Um, I think part of the game is just kind of like moving with it, staying fluid. And
Hmm.
ultimately, the main name of the game is making sure you got some really happy customers on the other side of this. That people feel like, all right, that was worth it. That made a
Right.
difference, and you want to fulfill that value proposition. Um, Also, too, like I'm always cognizant of the mix engineers. I hate the idea of a mix engineer being surprised, like them hearing the master and being like, "Oh, what happened?" You know?
Oh, dude, that's the scariest thing. At the few times as a producer that I've heard the master and been like, "Huh?" Like that's a red flag, big time. Totally with you on that.
I mean, let me ask you something. Let me turn the tables on you, Ricky. I
Okay.
mean, you know, you're now, you know, obviously mixing plenty of records on your own. Um, Obviously, been a producer for many years. Um, Sometimes that switches into mastering, right? Because the way you'll deliver,
Hmm.
there will be some treatment, right? Um,
Right.
question I have for you is, how do you approach that mindset change? Because for me, the mixing mindset of having
Hmm.
all these variables,
Hmm.
you know, all these channels,
Right.
is a profoundly different way to approach a master. When it's just like, hey, I just got the stereo file, that's it.
Right.
So question for you as a producer, also again, because you're doing multiple stages, how do
Right.
you interpret that mindset change?
Mm. For me, it's it's almost entirely one process up to the last about 2%. I would say 98% of it, I'm wearing the same hat.
So it's one
And
equation. So even if you're at the final stage, your listening is still granular. You're still concerned with the volume of that hi hat on the third bar. Maybe you're still
oh,
maybe
I'm
concerned with.
still concerned that that a lyric may not be right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I'm
So
saying? Like
like
it
raw
is.
ingredients, like atomic. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And then so once I'm once all those questions are answered and everything is where it's at and it's the day that we have to hand it into master, the last 2% is me being afraid that I'm going to do something unprofessional. So then I'm just going through and being like, okay, I know I should probably bring the ceiling down a little bit. And what do people do? What do people do? I'll go and be like, I'm gonna put a little bit. I'm gonna put like an air band in it, like just a little of that, and like this sort of imposter syndrome sets in, where I basically try to protect, this other 98% of the time where I've just allowed myself to be part songwriter, producer, artist, mixer, just all these things mushed into one, trying to communicate an idea. I basically go through at the very end and just sort of try to put like a bow tie on that guy and comb his hair and everything and push him out the front door. That's my last 2%.
For sure. I mean, the way I'll interpret that is that it's a lot running in parallel, right? It's like you have
Hmm.
production running in parallel with the mix
Yes.
process running in parallel with a mastering, let's say for lack of a better word, a pre-mastering process.
Right.
And it's interesting to see. I mean, obviously, I mean, dude, I'm not going to tell you a damn thing. Whatever you're doing is working. Obviously, it's just it's interesting because for me, I try to decompile.
Okay.
You know, I try to separate production from mixing from mastering. That those three things for me require a different articulation of frequency because
Right. I get that.
the way I'm going to approach an EQ, if there's only two channels left, is going to be different than how I'm going to approach it if I got like the mix, the bass bus open, or like a drum parallel I can do something with or what have you.
Right.
And it's just interesting. Again, I'm always just fascinated on people's process because I don't think there's one that's better or another. I'm just more like a computer, like the way my mind works. So it's just like I can't really like do section B until I got section A done. I'm kind of programmatic,
Right.
which is a limitation. Nonetheless, it allows me to function. I feel me to be able to compartmentalize those
Right.
listening types and engineering approaches allows me to do each of them well on their own, I suppose.
Right. I love that. And it's not a limitation. It is a damn art. And I'm so happy that you came on and joined us. People in the chat seem to be stoked about this. I got a lot of love. We had Dan Wilson in here just a minute ago. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a Grammy-winning songwriter and friend. He says, serious science on display now. We got jewels and gems. We got this chat always gives me life. Jeremy Jackson says this is a great interview. We got a lot of love for you here tonight, Kev. This has been awesome, dude. Thank you for coming through and
thank you
hanging for a bit.
I appreciate it.
Probably be talking to you in the next day or two because we're mastering a lot of things right now and we're ingesting a shit ton of music from the Nice Life team. So
absolutely, it's a beautiful thing.
Pumped to dig in with you. Well, thanks again, bro. I'll see you soon.
Ricky, have a great rest of the show. Thanks you everybody for joining.
Cool. Thanks, dude. Talk soon.
Peace, brother.
Peace. Man. That was awesome. That was awesome. How's everybody feeling? Do you guys like that? I thought that was great. I like it when I actually like get to ask all the questions I have and do a lot of major learning. That was the vibe. Okay, so you guys want to make some music? Let me check in with the chat one time. See how we're doing. Yeah, that was awesome. That was really awesome. Well, I do have my stuff. I have an idea. I have an idea of something that could be interesting for us to work on tonight. What time is it? 9:30? Yeah, I can rock for an hour. Show you guys some stuff. I just got something in that is interesting. I have an instrumental that my friend Teddy Geiger sent me. Therese. And I'm thinking about working on that. I have all the toys set up. You see, it's all good. I have some wine left. Do I have wine left? And I can fix that problem. That's something I can do. And I kind of want to just the next couple weeks are going to get pretty hot and heavy on this show. Coming after I want to like have kind of a mellow night. Work on this instrumental. I might have something I can merge it with. Could get interesting. For now, let's have a listen to this. This work? Can you guys hear that? Oh, you probably can't. Let's have a listen to this. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. How about now? Yeah. Can You guys hear that? Okay. Oh man, I really had a tough day today. That's true. I'm not going to try to hide it from you guys because we're all friends here, and I think it's good to talk about your feelings. And I had a tough day. I really did. But I'm also I'm also I got to learn to live with these days. Right? I got to learn to live with these days. Because we know that we have bad days and we have good days, and the bad days pass and the good days come back, and it's a cycle, right? That's part of the whole thing. That's part of this whole thing. So I want to do a little bit of, I need to do a little bit of sort of meditation through music tonight. I need that for myself. I would like y'all to join. Is that working? Y'all hearing that? Okay. Okay. So tonight I got this instrumental from Teddy, and Teddy, did you? I got this. So Teddy and I were jamming. We're jamming it's like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Time is a flat circle, you know the deal. 12 days ago, okay. We were jamming, and not in person, obviously, but just going back and forth. And she sent me a little synth loop, and I made a drum beat for it, and it was really great. And we're talking about trying to do something again. And then she sent me this amazing piece that I'm going to share with you guys now. Just an instrumental, but I think she also put vocals in here too, which I haven't heard. So I think we're going to start by listening to this and seeing if we can make something nice tonight. There was auto-tune on it. Didn't show up on my computer, so we're going to be tuneless. Maybe I'll help you out. I'll figure out the key and put a little tune on for you, Teddy. And then we'll listen. Because I'm not trying to put you on blast like that. Here's how I find out what key something should be in auto-tune wise. Listen. I find the tonic. So once I found the tonic, pretty obvious, that's the main note. Figure out if it's major or minor. Da, 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 da. That's major. If it's minor, it would be da, da, da. So da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, major third. Then Pro Tools, I can show you this now because we're super hot with the setup here. I go to this guy, Pitch Shift Legacy, my favorite thing ever. Turn on this thing, reference pitch right here, and you can change the note. There's our note. It's D. Da, da, dee, da, da. So we're in D major. So Teddy, I'm going to give you a little D major tune because I'm a good friend. Oh, nice. Auto-tune update available. You guys are going to see all my shit now. Let's get into it. Oh, not minor, major. We'll do like a 30. That's a nice place. Okay, let's listen to what she sent. I have not heard this vocal. This is my first listen. Oh, there's a lot of plugins on the master. I'm going to move these up here just to try to preserve the way she had this. Although a few didn't come up on my system. Okay, let's listen. Wow. That's so pretty. So I worked on this drum beat with Teddy last week. I think when she sent me this demo, I realized these drums might also work. Let's see if we can hear them. Might just be that, just this. So we're going to just get crazy tonight. I'm going to lay this drum beat in, and then just as I was talking to Kev, I got another song sent to me that is almost in the same key and the same tempo. So we're going to do a big mashup. It's going to be beautiful because that's what I said. So let's lay this drum beat in. Try it with the tambourine. Let's make the temping a little better. I like that more actually. Great. Okay. Let's just hear this for a second. Woo. Already in good shape. Okay, we love all that. So we're gonna just keep pushing this because I'm in a weird mood. I got a song that one Zac Carper of Fidlar sent me a couple days ago when he was having a tough day. He collaborated on it with this great singer named Hana Vu, who's lovely. I haven't heard her on this, but I know what I do know is it's in a similar tempo and a similar key. That's all I know. I think theirs is, I saw the stems come in, I think theirs is 83. I'm gonna call Zach real quick as I load this up. Zac Carper from Fidlar coming in hot. Let me call him on FaceTime audio, actually.
Hello.
Hey, bro.
Hi.
Hi. You're live in front of a whole 17 to 35 people right now.
Oh, dude, it's harder to be live in front of than it is for.
Oh yeah. No, I know, because we're like an intimate little family, judging each other at every turn, just like a real family.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just try like doing an insane mashup situation. Are you cool with that?
Of course, dude.
Is Hana aware that we could be ruining her handiwork?
There are no rules.
Okay.
There is no spoon, as they say in the Matrix.
There is no spoon?
Yeah, that's a quote, dude. There is no spoon.
Fucking
so
trust me, dude.
I
There's
talked to Hannah, and she's just like, let's go.
great. I have one more question. Your tune is at 83, right?
Dude, I don't know.
And you think it's in D sharp. That's the thing. This tune, okay. Tell me.
I think it's tuned a whole step down in the position of F.
Okay. Yeah, that would.
I think that it's the fourth string.
Okay. Like you go up a fourth or down a fourth in the hook or something?
Yeah. Like I think it's this weird key. And then Hannah's stuff is in a totally different key, but somehow it works.
Wow.
It made me cry this morning.
Wow.
So I'm just stoked on it, but you do your thing 100%, and I bet I'm gonna cry even more.
Let's
I think it is a D sharp
go there.
major.
Okay.
On the Harry's auto-tune.
That's the real decider. Okay.
If I had my eye lock, I would let you know right now, but I don't right now.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, we're just gonna mash up all these feelings. I'm gonna preserve the key. Let's see. You guys are at 83. Well, you know, but wait, is she like? Is her voice pitch shifted or anything, or is she natural sounding? No.
No, I think that's her.
Okay, great. So I'm going to I'm gonna just do a listen down of your guys's, and then we're gonna see what happens here.
I would just do whatever you wanted to, Ricky.
Okay. Thank you, Zach. I'll peep the stream and let me know if you enjoy what's happening in a little while.
I will.
All right. I'll talk to you in a bit.
Peace.
All right. Bye. Zac Carper, ladies and gentlemen, of the band Fidlar. Lovely person. We're going to do a listen down to what they did real quick. I'm going to... So in Pro Tools here, I have the session. Teddy's at 77. Zach and Hannah are at 83. I'm going to put a little tempo marker in here because one of these is going to probably have a little tempo change happening at some point if they're going to play ball. Let's listen to what they did. A little faster and 1/2 step up. Whoa. Sorry, you guys can't hear that. Let me fix that for you. Sending them out the bus. There we go.
Everybody's thinking that life goes, really saying it, but I don't think just say what you gotta say, 'cause I don't think that I'm in the government.
Sounds like we have all the vocals hitting at once. Let me fix this.
Everybody.
Okay, I can see. So sometimes when you get stems, a good way to make sure you got the right thing going is if you see a little short one like this, that probably means that one is not in the right place. I bet that and that probably are ones that are not in the right place. Let's listen again. But this.
Just say what you're gonna say, 'cause I don't think that I'm listening. Everybody's trying to give you advice, and I don't think that I'm listening. And I know that life goes on, and I know that life goes on. And when I'm sitting here seeing everything wrong, I sing along, sing along.
Whoa, her voice. Where are you, Hannah?
I don't have a single memory. I don't have a word to speak. Oh, baby, I was born this morning.
Whoa.
And every day this week.
Whoa, that melody.
And I know that life goes on, and I know that life moves on. And when I'm sitting here seeing everything wrong, I sing along, sing along. I mistook every mistaken look you ever threw my way. Oh, I throw away. I forgive every forsaken gift. We're just children playing in the summer, singing our song.
Oh, her voice is crazy.
And I know that life goes on, and I know that life moves on. And when I'm sitting here seeing everything wrong, I sing along, sing along.
Wow. We're really in our feelings tonight, folks. This shit. Okay. Whew. Amazing song from them. Amazing song from them. This melody, I can't believe this melody.
I don't have a lot to say. The shade of
Is that one or this one?
I don't have a single memory. I don't have a word to speak.
Gosh, so good.
I mistook every mistaken look you ever threw my way. Oh, I throw away. I forgive every forsaken.
Okay, so what I want to do, I think probably the most responsible thing if we're going to play in the sandbox a little bit, of course, is to start by getting them on the same tempo. We could bring them both to 80 or speed the Teddy one way up. Let's see what it sounds like to speed up this beautiful starter from Teddy. A little fast. Yeah, a little too fast. I mean, still kind of sick, but still a little too fast. So let's try meeting in the middle. Let's try 80 for that, and then we'll also do 80 for Zac and Hannah. I don't know if any of these folks have met before. I don't know if Teddy thinks this is a good idea. But this is in the spirit of trying to make something to make us all feel better tonight. I mean, most of you guys were like 7s and 8s. Maybe this is just me, but okay. So I got this to 7 or to 80. I want to, let's see. I'm also going to, still in my elastic audio here, so I can pitch shift pretty easily. I'm going to knock these up a half step. 1 semitone. Still sounds good. I have to change the auto tune.
Look at me
emotional heavyweight throwdown between these incredible singers and writers. I mean, but could they all work on the same thing? Maybe. That would be great. Let's get back to so I'm going to start by isolating all the vocals on Zac and Hannah.
On, and I know.
Beautiful. Got those. Okay, bass. Vocal. We'll mute this. What's this? East Bay. Sick. Guitar. Could come in handy. I'm just going to mute it instead of graying it out. It's a great classic guitar vibe. I know these are vocals. We're going to move them up. More guitar. Hi-hat. No, high guitar. But that one goes with one of the vocal melodies, so I'm going to keep that because it's great. Stomach's growling. Let's see. What's this? Jupiter. Let's keep that too. It's just so gorgeous and awesome. Let's see. Yeah, let's keep some of that stuff. These are all vocals. Let's bring these up here. So I realize you guys probably can't see unless I'm over like this. Okay. There's a big vocal there. Okay. We have some stuff. I'll just group these. This should be all the stuff that I like. Oh, I grabbed literally everything. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to grab from, where is it? Jupiter. Yeah, those ones. So from here up, group them. Okay. So this is where it's going to get exciting, interesting, say the least. I'm going to mute that stuff. In fact, before I do that, let me just bring this all out here. Did I miss anything? Okay. Why is it still grabbing? You turkey? There we go. Okay. So, let's have a look here. Let's listen again to what we have musically. Listen to this percussion Teddy did. And that's my drum machine, of course, there. Even just that and the guitar. What are you guys thinking? Tell me, folks in the chat. Folks in the chat, let me know what you're thinking about this. Where we're headed. I know we're in emotional territory. It could just work straight off of. Okay, let's have a listen to some of these Hana vocals. So I don't know if this is going to work. There's no promises here. Let me grab like one of my favorite melodies that she did.
I don't have a lot to tell you. I don't have a lot to say.
Let's see what the key is here. I'm going to do my same trick I did earlier. Oh yeah, she's in. So this is actually in A flat, so A sharp, so B flat major. I don't know if that's actually going to work. These may actually not work after all that trying. But well, we can still listen. Let's listen to just a little bit of her over this chord progression and see what happens.
I don't have a lot to tell you.
No, not quite right. Not quite right. Let me dig back in just from this and let's do it one more time. Sorry guys, I know it's slow. Bear with me. Music can't always be fast. Sometimes you just gotta be slow and work it out. I mean, I've been waiting for the episode where I was just gonna fall flat on my face in front of you guys. This could be it. You know what? You know how I feel? I feel like I have a duty to be real with you guys at this point, right? So, people in the chat, I'm having trouble. I don't have a good idea. I have beautiful music from some beautiful musicians. Just had a hard day. Feel uninspired. I'm a bit hungry. But I had a really hard day today, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what I can do for you right now. Doesn't feel like a great way to go into my big announcement on Monday, but can't control everything. So I'm going to go. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Come back. Please come back Monday, I promise. I'll be stronger and happier. I hope.